Welcome, everyone, and happy International Love Data Week 2024. Today's webinar, Project Outcome 101, is an introduction to the Project Outcome Toolkit for both public and academic libraries. And so the first thing we're going to do is introduce ourselves. My name is Gina Parsons-Diamond. I am the Program Manager of Data and Research at the Association for College and Research Libraries, and I support the Project Outcome for Academic Libraries Toolkit, as well as ACRL's other data initiatives. I'm joined by my co-presenter, Katina Jones from PLA. Katina is the Program Manager for Evaluation and Assessment at the Public Library Association, and she works with the Public Libraries Toolkit as well as other PLA data initiatives. We're also joined by our colleagues Mahogany Meeks and Brian Lim, who will be monitoring the chat for us. So today's webinar focuses on Project Outcome, which is a free toolkit designed to help libraries understand and share the impact of essential library services and programs. It provides simple surveys and an easy-to-use process for measuring and analyzing outcomes. Project Outcome also provides libraries with resources and training, which will support you and help you to apply your results and advocate for your library's future. If you haven't signed up yet, you can do that now. It's quick and easy and free, and the toolkits are available to all public and academic libraries worldwide. So today's webinar will focus primarily on outcome measurement and why it matters for your library. We'll walk you through using the Project Outcome Toolkit, and we'll share a couple of case studies as examples of how other libraries are using Project Outcome for improvements in advocacy. And we're going to go ahead and get started with a couple of quick definitions. Capturing the impact and value of your library's work is important to be able to tell stakeholders why it matters. For that story to be powerful, it's helpful for libraries to have strong data and evidence. However, assessment or evaluation can be easier said than done. It presents a number of challenges, particularly because each library and each community has its own needs, and usually there are limited time and resources to devote to data collection and analysis. Project Outcome is designed to lower the barriers to this work, and we'll be sharing a few tips for strategic measurement later in this session. There are many ways that you can capture impact, and you may already be doing some of these. Outcomes are just one piece of the puzzle. Different types of impact measures can help you answer different questions that you may be asking. So needs assessment can help answer the question, what does our community need? Patron satisfaction can help answer the question, what can we do better? Outputs can help answer the question, how much did we do? And outcomes can help answer the question, what good did we do? Adding outcome data to your impact story will help drive decision-making and strategic planning, and this is where Project Outcome comes in. And here we're just going to go over the definition of outcomes that we use for the purpose of Project Outcome. So that is, an outcome is a specific benefit from a library program or service. It can be quantitative or qualitative and is expressed as changes individuals perceive in themselves. So outcomes help answer the question, what good did we do? Or to put it another way, outcomes describe how learners are changed as a result of our efforts. Outcomes are not focused on recording library offerings or library usage, such as collection counts, gate counts, number of reference interactions, number of library programs offered, etc., but rather on documenting how the library impacts the learning and work of its users. They should be meaningful, achievable, observable, and actionable. With any data you collect, it's important to think about why you're collecting it and what it can help you achieve. Evidence from libraries show that Project Outcome helps them make programming decisions, engage in advocacy, secure funding, report on the use of grant funds, and apply for more grants, do strategic planning, and build meaningful partnerships in their community. The project outcome is designed to help you overcome common assessment barriers and engage more effectively in outcome measurement. It gives you a consistent and convenient way to measure outcomes and data that you can use to advocate to your library. So the Project Outcome Toolkit offers these advantages. The toolkit is built around a set of quick and simple surveys. You can use them straight out of the box, or you can choose to add custom questions. An easy-to-use survey management portal makes it super simple to collect and enter survey data. And once you've collected those responses, you can access ready-made reports that the system generates for you, as well as the customizable data reports that you create yourself. You can explore your results in a suite of interactive data dashboards with benchmarks, which allow you to see how you're doing compared to your peers. And then we've created all sorts of resources and training materials to help libraries engage in the outcome measurement process. And we keep adding more. So if you have any resources that you need, just let us know and we'll add them to the toolkit. Finally, the Project Outcome Toolkit includes a peer discussion board where you can ask questions and share examples of what works and doesn't work for you. This combination of the ready-to-go surveys and easy-to-use tools can really help library staff save time and energy in planning their data collection, which leaves more time for decision-making and advocacy once the results are in. Today's session will provide a brief overview of these features, and there are many resources and tutorials available in the toolkit where you can learn more. And I just want to take a moment to reiterate that all the surveys, tools, and resources available in Project Outcome are free for academic and public libraries and LIS students everywhere. You do not need to be a PLA or ACRL member to use the Project Outcome Toolkit. Project Outcome Simple Standard Surveys were developed by and for the library field. Since public and academic libraries offer different types of programs and services, the survey topics available to you will differ based on your library type. And of course, how you use them will differ as well. Public libraries have 8 survey topics available to them: digital learning, early childhood literacy, health, summer reading, economic development, job skills, civic and community engagement, and education and lifelong learning. Academic libraries have 7 survey topics available to them: instruction, research, event programs, teaching support, library technology, digital and special collections, and space. Each survey comes in 2 types: immediate and follow-up. Before you decide which survey to use, make sure to look at the actual survey questions and see which ones will get you the type of data you need. You can preview all the survey questions before you create a survey in the resources. Project outcome surveys are designed to capture 4 key outcomes: knowledge, confidence, application or behavior change, and awareness. Each survey also contains 2 open-ended questions to get the most out of your patrons' feedback. What did they like most about the program? And what can the library do to improve? These open-ended questions are invaluable to libraries. This is where you can gain the most insight into how to help your patrons and gather qualitative evidence to demonstrate your value in the community. One thing we see repeatedly is library patrons asking for more hotspots for checkout, more study spaces, more puppets for story time. Getting repeated comments like this can help you make the case for additional time or resources that you need, and the quantitative results can help you support your case by showing that what you're already doing is making a difference. In practice, this is what a project outcome survey looks like. This is the education or lifelong learning immediate survey for public libraries, and it's the most generic of the surveys, and it can be used for a broad range of programs. The text in bold indicates how the questions align with outcome measurements. The first 4 questions use a Likert scale for quantitative responses from strongly disagree to strongly agree. This is the standardized survey as available in the toolkit. You can also add up to 3 custom questions to a survey. It's important to remember that you can also set the context for your survey when you administer it so that your patrons know what they're being asked about. The surveys are available in English, Spanish, and French in both toolkits, and the academic library surveys are also available in Arabic. So it's important to choose the right survey, and to do that, you have to make sure to keep your library's needs and goals in mind. Look at your library programs and services that relate to those goals and consider which you should survey. Maybe it's a program you've been running for a while but have never gotten feedback on, or maybe you're trying something new and want to try and get a sense of how it's working. Review the survey questions to see which survey topic and type will get you the most useful data. If there's additional questions you need, you can consider adding custom questions. You will also need to think about how you actually survey your patrons. If you are running virtual programs, you may wish to use the online survey link. For in-person programs, you can share the survey directly by giving it to program participants, such as by sharing the link at the end of a program. Or you can share the link indirectly, for example, by posting it on your library's website or social media page and asking anyone who may have participated in the program to complete it. It's also important to consider how you frame the survey request in order to encourage participation. It can be helpful to emphasize the importance of feedback and also emphasize that the survey is short. It's only 6 questions. As you make changes based on the feedback your library receives, you can also emphasize that those changes are a result of patron feedback, which can help encourage future feedback if patrons see that the library has listened to them. So before we move on into showing you how the toolkit works, I'm going to pause to see if there are any questions. I'm also hoping that you can share what programs or services might you evaluate at your library using Project Outcome based on what we've discussed so far. All right, some programs people are hoping to evaluate are summer reading, career fairs, instruction, community needs for assessment. That's great. I've seen some questions come in, so I'm going to try and back up and get those. Jennifer asks, for public libraries, would it be possible to offer more languages? Because Project Outcome is a free program, we do have a pretty tight budget, so all translations are done on a volunteer basis. If you would like to volunteer or know somebody who could volunteer to translate the survey into a needed language for you, please do get in touch. Jesus asks if there's any way you can easily merge data from Project Outcome and data from SpringShare. I know on the academic library side, we have had institutions who lift the Project Outcome questions as written and drop them into a Qualtrics survey if they're perhaps doing a larger survey of their patrons. And then they pull that Project Outcome data back out of Qualtrics and upload it into our system. If that's not what you're asking about, please do let me know. I'm just scrolling through the chat. These are all great programs to evaluate. I see grant-funded programs that can better report out to their donors. That's excellent. Website accessibility and education and skills training. phonics and early reading for kids, makerspace projects. These are all excellent. Oh, and sustainability efforts in EDI. All amazing programs you want to be surveying, and I'm glad that we have a tool that can help you. And then Monica asks, is project outcome data available to be downloaded into Excel? Yep, and we'll go over that in the next section, using the toolkit. Oh, I see. I'm just reading the chat. All right. Jesus and Michaela, I'm hoping your questions will be answered in our next section using the toolkit, but please reach out to us again if they are not. All right, as I said, now I'm going to go ahead and talk about the functionality of the toolkit itself. So this is the account homepage you'll see when you log in. Once you've created an account, you'll have access to all the tools and resources via the user homepage. Any or all library staff can create their own accounts in Project Outcome, and all accounts from a single institution will be linked, and you'll be able to see all survey activity associated with your libraries and the surveys that are tied to the libraries, so you do not lose that data if staff leave. And this is the account management page where you can see all the users affiliated with your library or institution. This is where you'll be able to see and edit locations, for example, branch libraries or additional library spaces on your campus. This matters for the mapping functionality in the dashboards, but also if you just want to set a location when you create a survey. So at academic library, it may be that you have the main library and an engineering library, and you want to be able to separate those results out based on location. So here is the survey management tool. This is where you can go to create and access all of your library's surveys, customize the survey program information, which includes program name and date, track program attendance and survey response rates, enter survey responses, and you can download those auto-generated quick reports on this page as well, and download your raw data into an Excel spreadsheet. So what you're going to want to do if you're using the tool for the first time is click on the orange button at the top left to get started on creating a new survey. So creating a survey just takes 5 simple steps. You must first create a survey to access the paper survey and online links and to be able to enter the results back into the system. Each new survey you create will be based on a project outcome template from one of the survey topics, either 8 for public libraries or 7 for academic. You aren't creating the survey from scratch, though you will have options for customization, including adding additional questions. This survey management tool walks you through the process of creating a survey with a simple online form. So step 1, which is the screenshot you can see here, is choosing the survey topic and type, which will be immediate or follow-up, and then one of those 8 or 7 survey topics. Step 2 is where you enter your program information, including program name, date, and location. The program name you choose is important because this becomes a data filter later on. For academic libraries, this could be something like you're wishing to survey all instruction one-shots for a Writing 101 course. So you'd create the program name of Writing 101 to be able to see the individual classes or roll them all up into a program level report. Step 3 is where you enter a survey name. You also have the option of adding a custom intro and footer message or a custom redirect link for when the survey is completed. Also in step 3 is where you will be able to tag either the NESI high impact practices for academic libraries or the United Nations SDGs for public libraries. And then step 4 is customization. You can add up to 3 additional custom questions. We do provide a pre-populated list of additional survey questions. Some are multiple choice and some are open-ended, or you can write your own. The downside against adding additional custom questions is that they make the survey longer, which can reduce your response rates. And then step 5 is administering your survey. You can administer your survey on paper by printing out the PDF and distributing it manually, or you can distribute your surveys online, which you can use using a direct link. We also provide a QR code that can be scanned. The online surveys are mobile friendly, and we also offer an option to embed the survey in an additional on another website. So if you're using a LibGuide for your class, you could embed your project outcome survey in the LibGuide for academic libraries, or right on your library's website if you choose. Once a survey is created, you can make changes via the survey detail page. Though the changes you can make will be limited if you have already begun to collect responses. This page is also where you can find links to the PDF or online versions of the survey I was just talking about. You can click on the embed button to get pre-written code that will allow you to embed the survey in another web page or LibGuide, or you can use the QR code creator to create a QR code that's easily scannable. You can enter your program attendance on this page as well if you care to calculate your survey's response rate. There are several ways of collecting and entering survey responses once you have them. The first is if you have your patrons or fill out the survey online, that data will be automatically ported back into Project Outcome, and there's no additional step you need to take. If you do choose to administer your survey through the paper survey option, which can yield a significantly higher response rate, we offer several options for you to get that data back into the system. The first is you can enter responses one at a time yourself by using the orange Enter Responses Online button at the bottom right. We also provide a bulk entry online form that is a link that goes to a page that kind of looks like a spreadsheet where you can enter multiple rows of responses. This option is nice because it can be shared with people who are not project outcome users, such as student workers or interns, and they will be able to enter your survey data without having access to the full toolkit. Finally, we do offer an Excel bulk upload option. You simply download the template, enter your data, and re-upload it into the system. Each template is unique to each survey you create. So I totally get that administering surveys and entering data can be a pain, but what makes it worth it is what you can do with the results. In Project Outcome, we provide data dashboards where your results are available in a variety of formats, which make it easy to review, interpret, analyze, and share your results. So the data dashboards show graphic visualizations of your aggregate survey data. All dashboards can be saved as screenshot images, printed as PDFs, or saved to the infographics library within Project Outcome, which allows you to add them to custom reports. And I will be talking about custom reports in a few slides. But first, we're going to go over some of these data dashboards. The first one I'm going to talk about is on the top left of your screen here. This is the overview dashboard. This shows the aggregate average score across all survey types and across all outcomes. Each survey topic and outcome show comparison of your library's average score in that category versus state scores for public libraries or Carnegie class scores for academic libraries, as well as the national average score. The detailed dashboard, which is on the bottom left here, is where you can view the data for each individual survey question organized by survey. These results can be filtered by program name, outcome, survey topic, and a few others. And the benchmarks are also displayed here. The matrix dashboard, which is the final dashboard on the right here, allows you to explore the data looking for relationships and correlations, and can also be used to drive decision-making and identify gaps in service or impact. The matrix diagram makes it possible to view aggregate average scores for each survey topic in connection with each outcome. The chord diagram that appears below the matrix table allows you to see your score relationships in a different way. The thicker the chord, the stronger the relationship between the particular survey and outcome. So I know this is a kind of a small picture, but you can see the purple here. That is a thick, bright chord between the health survey and confidence. So that means your institution, when applying the health survey, has a very high confidence score. We also provide a map dashboard. This allows you to filter by outcome or survey topic and select a custom or demographic area. On the left of the screen are panels with data related to the population, economics, education, and health for the selected area, and that data is pulled from the census. You can also hover over any of the charts You can hover over any of the charts for detail and save these charts to your custom reports. The final dashboard I'm going to talk about is our qualitative dashboard. This is where you can visualize the most commonly used words from open-ended responses. You'll see one word cloud per survey topic, and you can select a program to narrow down the results. You can click on a word to see its frequency and other words that commonly appear with it. Word clouds can give you a sense of overall trends in the open-ended communication. They're not a substitute for actually reading the comments or doing further analysis, but they are a great place to start. You can export your open-ended responses to explore and analyze even further. And again, you can save these visualizations to your saved infographics library within Project Outcome to download them or add them to your reports. So the data dashboards are designed for exploration. You can easily create reports to share your survey results with library staff, management, and other stakeholders. The first kind of report is a summary report. This captures results from a single survey and is designed for quick sharing with staff, managers, or other stakeholders. You can literally get this report with one click from the survey management page, and each survey you create will have a unique link to get their quick report. This is great if you just need something fast and easy to share out to demonstrate your impact. And we also provide a custom report builder. This is where you can build a more in-depth report that covers multiple surveys. And you can customize it by applying filters, adding a custom statement from your library, and again, creating a report for a whole program or multiple surveys. You can access the report builder within the data dashboard, and you can see the start of the wizard that will help you build your reports here. So this is what the standard quick report looks like. Each report will show a quantitative summary of the data you selected. And if you're building a custom report with multiple surveys, it will list those as well. And you can choose to add some or all of your open-ended responses to your reports. And you can additionally customize your reports by adding additional pages with visualizations captured from the data dashboards and custom text. We just added this feature a year or two ago, and we're really excited about it. So this is what your saved infographic library looks like. So if you want to add the matrix chords or the qualitative data, you save it as an infographic, and then you'll be able to pop it into your report, as well as provide any custom text or context that you would wish to. So this is a really great feature if you're looking to provide something in depth to your staff, management board, or stakeholders. As I said earlier, you can access your raw data, download the data from individual surveys. You can do this through the survey management tool. We have a couple options where you can get this data. You can get it right from an individual survey, or you can use the survey response viewer if you're looking to download data from multiple surveys. The raw data comes out as a CSV file that then you can convert based on your needs. The spreadsheet includes the library name, location, program name, program date, survey topic, survey type, survey name, response date, response type, that's paper or electronic, and all the quantitative and qualitative responses. I do just want to note that the data is available as soon as it's entered, so you'll want to be cautious about downloading the raw data while you're still accepting survey responses. Before we move on to implementation, I'm just going to pause. I've seen a couple questions come in, so I'm going to scroll back and see. Katina, could you maybe read them out for me?
Oh, there's lots of questions, Gina. So I think if we start from the bottom, it might help us with a couple of other questions. So let's see. Melissa and maybe I think it was Sarah asked about benchmarks and how the data are used when we're making those comparisons for people who are using who are looking at their survey responses compared to other folks. How's the data used? Where do they come from, those benchmarks?
Oh, sure. So all benchmark data in project outcome comes from other libraries that are using the toolkit. So we are benchmarking directly against other project outcome survey responses. This is why the surveys are standardized so that we can get an apples to apples comparison. So in the public libraries toolkit, you are benchmarked against your state and the national aggregate scores. And in the academic toolkit, you are benchmarked against your broad Carnegie class. So that's associate, bachelor's, master's, or doctorate. And I think we have research libraries. And again, against the national score. Your individual survey responses are never shared with another user.
Or with anyone outside of your library is probably a better way to describe it.
And I do want to say we have quite a few responses. The Public Libraries Toolkit is edging up on 500,000 responses, and the Academic Toolkit has about 200,000. So we're pulling from a broad data perspective. No individual data is ever shared outside of your institution.
Thank you for that, Gina. There was a question, and I just lost it, but I know what it is. Could you talk a little bit about the difference between the immediate survey and the follow-up survey?
Oh, sure. So the immediate surveys are designed to be used right after a program. So, for academic library, that could be a one-shot instruction survey. The last 5 minutes of the class, you're passing out your paper survey. The students are responding and handing them back to you. Or at the public libraries, it could be, at the end of story time, you're doing the same thing. You're getting that feedback right at the end of your program or service. The follow-up surveys are designed to be used 6 to 8 weeks after your program to really get a sense of what patrons took with them and how they've applied that knowledge a little bit further out in the future. And the follow-up surveys are set up a little differently. They're not as popular in the toolkit, but you can see the full follow-up surveys in the resources if you're interested.
Hey, Gina, can you go back a couple of slides? Maybe the one where you're showing the different dashboards. I think that we might be able to answer a couple of the other questions that came up based on that.
Sure. So here,
Okay, on this slide.
yes.
Um, so in the instruction, and since you're sharing your screen, can you sort of hover, and I know it's small, and I apologize to everyone. Can you hover where it says total survey responses under instruction where it says 4.2, and then it shows total
Yeah.
survey responses next to national average or total average?
Yeah, so there's these 4 lines underneath and their total survey responses, Carnegie average, national average, and then total average.
So yeah, so I think to sort of get at what I was making assumptions about what Sarah was asking was that you can see how many survey responses are make up that national average or total average for public libraries. There's also a like a average based on like the locale type, whether it's suburban large library or rural or town small library. So this is one place where you can see how many responses make up that average that you're benchmarking against. And I think that there was another question, which I'm now forgetting. So this is why I'm so horrible at this. Um,
So I see
oh, and then from Tammy, and so yes, Tammy, you can see separate your library number versus, um, the Carnegie class or the national number and the total number, or based on the state and the national number. So they are separated. And you can see that on um, in the columns next to the chart that has the purple, the light purple and the dark purple in it here on the screen. So hopefully that answers those questions. And I don't know, Gina, if you've seen any other questions that I maybe missed.
Yeah, I see a couple. Jennifer asks if the online survey works well on different technology platforms. Yes, the surveys are designed to be laptop, tablet, mobile friendly. They're responsive, so they'll work on any device. Sarah also asks, do we track IP addresses? No, we do not. And we do not collect any identifiable data from students or patrons. The 6 questions that you see on the standard surveys are the only questions we ask, and we do not, we encourage you to not ask for any identifiable data in your custom questions as well. We have a resource called Protecting Patron Privacy that you may want to check out that goes into a little bit more detail. All right, Lori asks about the aggregate scores. Does staff take into account different libraries of different sizes or user populations? No, we do not weight the responses at all because it is a fully voluntary system. Let's see, Jennifer also asks, is there an established time period for the comparison data? As of right now, no, there is not. It's all data since the toolkits were launched. PLA launched in 2015 and ACRL launched in 2019. That is definitely something that if you feel strongly about, please send us an email and we're happy to bring it to our volunteer oversight boards for additional discussion. A different Jennifer asks, in Canada, who are they being compared to? I believe you're being compared by province in Canada, by province and then at the national level. Jacqueline asks about institutional research boards getting approval before using the project outcome toolkit. That is a case-by-case basis. Some IRBs are much stricter than others. A nice thing about project outcome is the surveys are standardized. So if you do need to get them approved by your IRB, it should only need to be done once and you won't have to do it semester after semester.
Phew, that was a lot of questions.
I have one more and then we'll
Okay.
talk to Katina to talk about some case studies. Melissa asks, do we as a user self-identify the Carnegie classification? No, we load in all of the Carnegie provided data into our system when it's released every 3 years. I believe it is. So you are being benchmarked against your true peers. It is not self-reported. And I'm going to pass it over to Katina.
All right, awesome. Thank you for providing so many good questions. If there is anything that we don't answer today, or if you think of other questions afterwards, later on the last couple of slides, we'll have our email addresses and the email address for the info at Project Outcome and the ACRL inboxes will be available to you after this webinar. So let me relatively quickly get through some case studies and just some final thoughts about using Project Outcome and outcome measurement. So now that you've seen how the tool works, I want to share a couple of examples of what you can do with the data you collect. I'll be sharing 2 examples, one from a public library, one from an academic library, but the takeaways from each can apply to any type of library. So let's go. Okay, so let me get my slides together here. All right. One more check of this option here. There we go. Okay. So the first case study that I'll talk about is from an academic library. The Nevada State College is a 4-year public institution founded in 2002. The campus is located on about 500 acres in Henderson, Nevada. When this case study was created, the Nevada State was the second fastest growing public institution in the U.S., with enrollment approaching about 5,000 students. Their students are from a variety of diverse and underrepresented backgrounds, with nearly 50% first-generation college students, another 40% low income, 40% over the age of 25. The college library is unique in that it was the first entirely digital collection in the state of Nevada. Use of the library space increased significantly after the move to a digital collection, but until using the Project Outcome Space Survey, they had no way of measuring its impact on students. So as a side note, let me reiterate that the space survey is a built-in part of the academic library toolkit for Project Outcome because it's designed to measure the outcomes of learning spaces unique to academic libraries and their students. We have heard that some public libraries have used questions from the space survey outside the Project Outcome toolkit to measure the impact of their maker spaces or production labs. So that might be something to consider. You have access to see what questions are on the space survey, public library folks. But let me get back to Nevada State College. So to measure the outcomes of Nevada State College's physical library space, the staff administered the survey to students who had booked study rooms via LibCal. Overall results were positive, but the lowest score came in on awareness, on the awareness outcome. That is, students were not making the connection to other library resources and services. One possible reason they decided for this was limited signage. So additionally, from the survey's open-ended comments, the library learned that many students were using the rooms for quiet individual study rather than the group study space that the library had originally designed and intended the rooms to be used. So what did they do? What you see on the screen here is the result summary from page 1 of the library space survey report. You can see that there were very positive results for each outcome that was measured. The survey did end up with only a 14% response rate, or 22 responses. Nevertheless, this survey still produced actionable feedback. It's important to note that Nevada State College had also conducted a correlational study prior to their implementation of Project Outcome. Of that study, the library said, and I quote, "Those data were useful in advocating to college administration about the value of library space, but it was not actionable data for the library beyond we need more space," close quote. The correlational study didn't allow them to discover any ways that they could improve the space to better meet the students' needs. So from the combination of the Project Outcome data and the data from the correlational study, which again had positive responses but didn't deliver the results that were actionable, like the Project Outcome data, the library was able to incorporate the specific feedback they got from Project Outcome in order to have an ask to deliver to administrators beyond just more. Okay. So what action did the Nevada State College take from their survey responses? I am trying to do too many things over here. Okay. So first of all, improved signage. They introduced digital signage, a rotating slideshow on screens when they were not in use to advertise library services. They placed table tents in the study rooms to promote events and resources. They changed their reservation policies, updated their policy to allow a single student to reserve the smaller study rooms for individual quiet study. They also soundproofed their study rooms. They installed sound absorbing panels that resulted in a 30% reduction in noise based on decibel testing. They also explored how to reduce noise overall. At the time of the case study, they were looking into other solutions such as changing the library's entryway from an open space to a glassed off entrance that could reduce noise from other areas of the building. And then finally, advocacy. The results were shared with Nevada State's student government organization and used to advocate with campus administration that more quiet study spaces were needed on campus. In the summer of 2019, a library-led renovation project was approved to convert a nearby classroom into a quiet study computer lab. So in other words, the advocacy was not just we're going to the administration with specific asks, but also the students knew that their responses to the survey were being considered and taking, and results were happening from their responses. So again, this is a nice case study because it shows how one survey with a relatively small number of responses led to demonstrated improvements within the library, giving the students exactly what they said they needed to be successful. So let me give you another case study. So in the summer of 2020, to adapt to ongoing COVID-19 pandemic restrictions, staff at the Sarasota County libraries in Florida, like many libraries across the country, sought new ways to safely connect with their community. So a new initiative they tried was to supply take-home programming kits. Starting this new service offered a perfect opportunity to implement Project Outcome. In other words, the library wanted to know if the service that they had designed, that they had created, that they were rolling out was meeting the needs of users. So it's a perfect time to use Project Outcome. You're starting something new and need to measure how well it's working. So the staff chose to print the surveys, include them in the kits, and ask patrons to return their surveys or submit their responses online. Staff at the Sarasota County libraries distributed over 1,000 grab-and-go kits with printed surveys inside. Unfortunately, only 10 surveys were returned. So, and I will reiterate here something that we've mentioned before, low response rates can be a common challenge with program assessment. Collecting responses can be particularly challenging without a captive audience. In other words, when you distribute a survey to patrons in the room at the end of a program, you'll most likely get more responses than having to ask patrons to take something home and then return it the next time they come to the library. So, however, despite the low response rate to their survey, the library found the evaluation experience itself to be valuable. So, in other words, because they were planning for this evaluation, it helped them to clarify the intended outcomes of the service. So, in other words, a new service, they wanted to measure it. The exercise of creating a survey helped them to really understand and figure out what sort of outcomes they were expecting to measure. So as I wrap up with these case studies, here's a bit of advice as you start surveying. Number one, give it time. Don't be discouraged if you have a slow start or don't immediately meet your intended survey goals. And two, remember that even a handful of responses can give you valuable insight into what your community needs. Okay, so let's move on to next steps. So why use Project Outcome? We know that short and simple surveys mean you get higher response rates, right? People don't like completing long surveys. Now, there are times when long surveys are necessary, but for day-to-day evaluation, having a quick and easy way of gathering feedback is helpful. These surveys in the Project Outcome Toolkit were created by and for the library field. They've been tested and validated so you can have confidence in your results. The standardized surveys and outcome measures mean that mean that you can track progress at your library, but also have benchmarks to compare how you're doing to other libraries. So not only can you see over time if you make changes, what sort of responses you get. You can, as you're going along, compare yourself to others, what we were talking about earlier with benchmarks. The ready-made reports and visualizations in the data dashboards do a lot of the hard work for you. They give you results that you can easily share with internal and external stakeholders. The reports and dashboards also provide an immediate snapshot of how a program went. This allows you to take that feedback and get started on making improvements right away. The open-ended comments are really valuable. They can provide specifics of where patrons would appreciate support and stories of what they value that can support your advocacy and reporting. Overall, the project outcome tools are designed to be easy to use to reduce the burden of evaluation on you. You focus more on making an impact at your library and less on agonizing over survey questions or spreadsheets of results. Work at your own pace and comfort level. If you are new to outcome measurement, start small, see how it goes, and learn from there. As you become more comfortable, there are ways that you can dig deeper and customize your surveys and reports, as Gina shared with us earlier. So if you're new to assessment or project outcome, one place to start is this roadmap, which you see on the screen, which walks you through the steps to take. And this roadmap is available in the resources on the toolkit. Now, while this roadmap presents a linear picture of the process, getting started, planning, creating, administering surveys, entering and reviewing data, and then taking action, very linear, I'd emphasize that it actually is an iterative process. With regular evaluation over time, you should and will repeat this process. But you might find that adding onboarding staff or planning for bias reduction become a part of the surveying process at your library in order to see the desired improvements in program and service delivery. It's also important to keep the end goal in mind. The purpose of this work is to take action and make change. These might be actions you anticipate in advance, or they might be driven by the feedback you receive, as illustrated in the case studies that I shared earlier. So I know this seems like a lot of information. We've been talking at you for 50 minutes. However, the toolkit is really designed to be simple to use. I encourage you to just get in there and poke around. Project Outcome has numerous resources available to all users and covering all aspects of the outcome measurement process. Since we didn't have time to go through all of the features in the toolkit in detail today, be sure to check out the tutorials as a reference. And you see there's a link to the tutorials at the top of that resources page. You can also preview all the survey questions to choose the best one for your needs. There are case studies where you can learn about other libraries and how they've used project outcome results to take action, and many other resources cover all aspects of the outcome measurement process. So as you're engaging with the toolkit, remember that you can ask others how it works for their libraries on the peer discussion boards. These boards are now on ALA Connect and are accessible to anyone with an ALA account. You do not have to be an ALA member or a PLA member or an ACRL member to create an account and use ALA Connect. And so I believe that we may have dropped the links in the chat for these outcome communities, but you can also just visit the Project Outcome Toolkit and be connected to these communities on ALA Connect. So let's talk a little bit about news and updates. As you can see here, the image that you see here is the Project Outcome for Academic Libraries Fiscal 2023 report. It was just published last week before last. So I would encourage you to read it and see what's been going on the ACRL toolkit. There were new features that were rolled out this time last year that allow public libraries to tag surveys with one or more UN Sustainable Development Goals, showing how the library is contributing more broadly to key issues of global concern. And for academic libraries, you're able to tag your surveys with high impact practices for student engagement. More information on these features are available in the resources section of the toolkit, or we've dropped the link in the chat for the page with the recording of the SDGs webinar that we held in April last year. And finally, the long-awaited, and I say long-awaited because we're waiting on Katina, technology topic will be added to the toolkit for public libraries this spring. The immediate and follow-up surveys have been modeled after the academic library version of the library technology survey. All right, so what's next? What will you do to get started with outcome measures at your library? So again, we've done a lot of talking. We are very close to the top of the hour, but I will go to this slide. And as I mentioned earlier, drop your questions on the peer discussion board. You don't just wait for me or Gina or Brian or Mahogany to answer your question. You could put it out on the peer discussion board to see how other libraries are using the toolkit, or you could email us directly. As you see here for ACRL, it's acrl@projectoutcome.org. For PLA, it's info@projectoutcome.org. So, Gina, Brian, or Mahogany, do we have questions that we can answer in the next few minutes?
I haven't seen any questions come in, but we will stay until 2 p.m. Central if anybody has any additional questions. And we do ask you to complete a quick survey based on the project outcome model of this webinar as you exit. So thank you so much for joining us today, and happy International Love Data Week. You will be receiving the recording as well as the PDF of the slides in the next few days. Oh,
And
I
I
do.
see, oh, go ahead. I was going to say that question from Natasha of whether or not it would be suitable to run a general annual library survey. My initial reaction would be no, because you want your outcomes to be connected directly to a specific topic or a specific program. If you've been using Project Outcome, right, you can create a report based on an annual, but I think you probably would not want to use the Project Outcome Toolkit for an annual general survey. Gina, I don't know if you feel any differently about that.
Yes, I would agree. The Project Outcome Toolkit, especially the immediate surveys, are designed to capture snapshot data. So if you're looking for a more robust assessment of your library over a period of a year, I would suggest using a different assessment tool.
But thanks for that question. I appreciate it.